counterclockwise
amazing.
3 times and activate the electrical properties in the oil.
Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm a science teacher.
I'm Cheryl, and I slept through science.
Each episode will tackle a science question you may have learned in school, but can't quite remember or fully explain.
And I'll take the risk of asking the dumb questions so that we can all understand the science we slept through.
The bell has rung. Let's get started.
Welcome to lesson 63. We are in our Quackery unit. Cheryl, what are we going to quack about today?
Oh my gosh, Ryan, this topic is the one that I was like, when we do this unit, I am so excited to talk about essential oils with you. Oh my goodness.
Essential oils.
Mm-hmm.
Dare I ask why you're so excited about them?
I think that this is one, like later in our unit, we're going to talk about some things where like, I don't know a single person who believes in this thing we're talking about. And this is one that I feel like I know many, many people who very genuinely believe in the effectiveness of essential oils. And so
Okay.
it feels like it's something that has really spread in our culture as like a commonly accepted belief. The most successful essential oils companies are MLMs. And I have
MLM
some
stands
strong
for?
feelings about multi-level marketing companies.
Mhm.
And it makes me sad how much they have honestly preyed on stay-at-home moms, if
Yeah.
we're being truthful with ourselves. There's actually a really good podcast to listen to about that called The Dream, if someone's interested in learning more about MLMs. And so I think it's like, what I am finding as I'm reading more about them is just like most people, when they're talking about how great they are like, and you can buy them too with this link. And so, yeah.
So it sounds like there's multiple levels of issues that we need to address.
Essentially, yes.
Nice. Well, let's just kind of start with our pre-assessment. What are essential oils, Cheryl?
From what I understand, it's like oils from plants
Okay.
that are super concentrated.
All right.
I will say up front, I have a lot of them.
Okay.
And I use them for
Mhm.
their smell because they're awesome. I make my own lotion and lip balm and different things like that. And you can just put like if I make a tube of chapstick, I put like 3 drops of an essential oil
Okay.
to like scent the whole thing.
Mhm.
And so they're natural smells, and I love that a lot. The big claim around them though is all of these like healing properties that they
Okay.
have, like medicinal properties that are natural and not Western medicine.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What are some of those claims?
Well, funny you should ask, Ryan, because I am on lovingessentialoils.com and they have a list of 150 essential oils and the common uses for them.
I'm sorry.
So I wanted to
hold on. Before you go to, when you say a list of 150 oils?
Yeah.
So this is not a scientific question. This is a linguistic question. How can 150 of them all be essential? I feel like that's a big old list of oils that are essential.
I mean, I'm assuming you're making a joke, right?
Not really.
Like, I thought the word essential. Oh, that's so funny. I always took it to mean like, because it's concentrated, it's like the essentials of the plant.
Oh, essential, is it like essence of?
Yeah, that's what I took it to mean.
Oh, well, that would make a lot more sense because
Versus
there's not.
like Rick Steves packing essentials list.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yes.
I think so. We might have to double check that as you're doing your lesson prep today, though.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, where did that name come from? That's such a good point, though. But here's what's funny to me. I'm gonna read you some of these common uses.
Okay.
So it's alphabetical. So like arg wood, common uses is grounding, relaxation, natural perfume, muscle spasms, healthy digestion.
It will give you muscle spasms?
No, like it's like it would help you relax your muscle spasms.
Sorry.
Um,
Just the way it's worded, there
yeah.
was all like the positive,
Yes,
and
the
then that's
wording of
one
this list
negative.
we're gonna
Okay,
have to
got it.
forgive a
All
little
right.
bit because
Thank you.
that's
Sorry.
not the biggest offense of this list. So
Okay, please continue. I'll keep
there's
that to myself.
allspice, which is arthritis, fatigue, muscle cramp, rheumatism, muscle joint and joint stiffness, chills, congested coughs, bronchitis, stomach cramp, flatulence, indigestion, nausea, depression, nervous exhaustion, neuralgia, tension, and stress.
Allspice, like the thing that you cook with?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, allspice oil.
Okay.
Yep. Here's one you're gonna love though a lot is arbor vitae, which is western red cedar and western arbor vitae. Has a
Mixed
woodsy
together?
scent, it says. I guess. It is antibacterial,
Okay.
antifungal, calming, cancer, and repellent.
It is cancer.
I think I
Like
don't know if they accidentally put a comma there and it's supposed to be it's cancer repellent because I would like to purchase some cancer repellent spray.
Oh my god.
Or if it means it's repellent of other things and also it helps you
Like
fight
bugs?
cancer
Like a
or
bug repellent?
avoid. I'm not sure.
Like citronella, that's a thing that they
Yeah.
put in candles to keep mosquitoes away. I've never
Yeah,
found that
actually,
they
I
work
have
that well,
purchased
but
that and I made a lotion with that I would use in the woods sometimes.
okay. So
Um,
that you would smell like the woods while you're in the woods.
no, I bought citronella.
Oh, citronella. Oh, sorry.
Uh-huh,
Got
yeah.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So like that's anything from calming to helping you fight cancer.
And
is what that one does.
repellent.
And repellent. So whatever that is
Okay.
about. But then what was another one I really loved? Oh, but then so like I did like the control F to find and cancer only comes up one time.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so one of the 150 essential oils claims to fight cancer, but then if you do like the word infection, there are 100 results.
Oh,
So then this is saying that like 100 out of those 150 will help you with infections.
of some
If you do
kind.
fever, there's 15 results. Cough has 40 results. Immune has 5 results. Yeah, so I think what's interesting is like there's a lot of claims that are kind of all over the board for one
Mhm.
oil, but then also there's a ton of overlap. It's saying like pretty much if you use essential oils, you'll have more immune support, is what I'm gathering. Like chances are pretty high that you would get immune support or arthritis is on there 28 times.
Okay.
Gout is on one of them. Just like any problem you have, there is an essential oil for it.
Okay. Alrighty.
Mhm.
Well, Cheryl, how well do they work?
Well, see, don't take my word for it. I have stories for you
Oh,
of how well they work. So
okay.
I found some stories on the internet. I will tell you that whenever I speak with somebody who uses essential oils, they have their own stories for me.
Okay.
I had
Well,
someone
but you
tell
said
me-
you use essential oils.
Yes, but who uses essential oils and believes in like the healing power
I see. Okay.
of them.
They use them
have their
for the
stories.
purpose of the medicinal use of them.
Yes. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
So I found some online because I didn't really want to call anyone out in my life necessarily. And so but this honestly, I feel like I've had conversations like this.
Mhm.
So this first one's from the New Yorker, actually. It's an article written in 2017 about how essential oils became the cure for our age of anxiety, which is interesting. It starts with 20 years ago, Carla Cohen fell mysteriously ill. She couldn't put her finger on what was wrong. It felt as though some conspiracy between her mind and her body was eroding her capacity to work. Cohen, who is an entertainment executive in Los Angeles, woke up every morning feeling weak and foggy-brained with a low-grade fever. Her doctors couldn't make a diagnosis and suggested antidepressants. I said, "I'm not depressed." They just told me to go home and rest. Disillusioned by Western medicine, Cohen began exploring other options. She studied with multiple healers and shamans. She read books with titles like The Body Toxic and pursued a massage therapy license. As part of her training, she took a class on massage technique called raindrop theory, which incorporates essential oils, aromatic compounds from plant material. At the time, essential oils were not well known, but Cohen was drawn to them right away. From the very first moment with those oils, I noticed something was firing that hadn't been firing, she said. I was deeply moved. Today, Cohen puts frankincense oil on her scalp every morning. When she feels a cold coming on, she downs an immune system boosting oil blend that includes clove, eucalyptus, and rosemary. On days when she has to negotiate a contract on behalf of an organization that she volunteers for, she uses nutmeg and spearmint to sharpen her focus. She earns the majority of her income working for a distributor for Young Living, a leading vendor in essential oils. Cohen is middle-aged with a friendly, open face framed by graying curls. There were blah, 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 something about her house. So then this person goes to visit her at her house. She offers her a glass of water called Body Tea Detox. She said, "Not that you're toxic. This water has settled tangy like a LaCroix without the fizz." Cohen went into her treatment room and came back with a small vial called Clarity. She put a few drops on my left palm. "This is good for getting your mind clear," she said. "Rub it clockwise 3 times. That activates the electrical properties of the oil and aligns your DNA." Following Cohen's instructions, I cut my hands around my nose and inhaled deeply. The smell was heavier than that of perfume, so minty it was almost medicinal. Cohen looked at me expectantly. "I feel perkier," I ventured. It goes on from there. It's kind of a long article. But I feel like this kind of your face is so good. Do you want that sentence one more time?
Yeah, I think we need to hear
Okay.
that one more time.
Rub it clockwise 3 times. That activates the electrical properties of the oil and aligns your DNA.
And then you click your heels together 3 times and say, "There's no place like home."
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the best one. There's another one. There's all these blogs. They're all mommy blogs. And they
Mhm.
just seem like mom blogs. And they tell their story. And oftentimes my husband didn't believe it either. And then they tell their story about, but then I took it and now I have this success, and click on my link to buy it too.
Now, when they say, "And now I have this success," are they talking about financial success or that
No,
the oils
they're
did
talking about
something
health.
else?
Health.
Okay.
Yeah.
They feel better. Okay.
Like Thieves is a big one that apparently was around during the Black Plague and helped people.
Thieves?
Yeah, it's a blend of 5 essential oils and it's called
Okay.
Thieves.
Okay.
And it's like was developed during the Black Plague apparently and helped people because we all know how the Black Plague turned out and how thieves saved the day. And so,
Uh-huh.
but it's one that one of the big companies sells a blend of. And like that's one that I've heard a lot about immune support specifically is like this blend of these oils. And so like
Okay.
this one woman says like So, how did it turn my skeptic husband into a believer? He's seen it work on our 3-year-old son several times. You know how it goes. You want to keep everyone in a great, healthy standing during the school year. It can be tricky, but certainly with routine and good health choices, it can be done. We began using Thieves Vitality. These ingredients synergistically combine to offer one of the key benefits of Thieves Vitality Oil: overall wellness and support of a healthy immune system. Additionally, Thieves Vitality may also support a healthy respiratory system when taken internally. So it was so effective to help us balance our busy life and our wellness. With the Young Living Thieves Vitality Essential Oil, you can support overall wellness and a healthy immune system with just a few drops. All our immune systems are working in tip-top shape, and he's a believer. When the supply is low in our home, he gets a bit irritated and wants me to make sure that we're stocked up and never run out. That's how much of a believer he is. And then at the bottom, you can click on her link to buy it yourself.
Okay.
So that's kind of the formula for how to write
Is
your
that-
own blog.
Is that how most of the blogs that you've read go? Where they describe this thing and semi-nebulously say what it's supposed to do, don't actually say anything about what it actually did other than I'm better or it worked?
Yeah, or like I couldn't sleep and then I started using lavender oil and now I sleep through the night. That's more specific, actually.
That's
I think
pretty
there's
specific. Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
But more of them feel like this, a little bit more of a nebulous. Like I didn't believe in it and I've been using it for a while and now I sure do. Click on my
Okay.
link.
Okay. Oh.
Do you want to read about the DNA some more though and how it needs to be aligned?
Do you have
Are
more
you
about
aligning
that?
your DNA, Ryan?
Am I you know what, Cheryl? I am aligning my DNA. And so are you. But we can talk about that later in our lesson.
Are you going to ask if I knew about that?
If you knew about
The
what?
aligning the DNA?
No, but now I am. Did you know about that?
Well, yeah, like I don't know if I've heard that phrase, but I've heard phrases about essential oils of like the way you apply it, like something special happens.
Like aligning your DNA.
Yeah, or like it like something. What did it say about the
The electrical something?
It activates the electrical properties in the oil and aligns your DNA.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm going to ask you.
Have I overwhelmed you?
A little bit. So here, to wrap up our pre-assessment, here's my question for you, Cheryl, or two-part question.
Yeah.
What do you believe about the essential oils and what leads you to that perspective?
Okay. A lot of the claims is that it's calming. I would totally agree with that. I think scent has such an impact on our stress levels, and I think that's like I think you could also test that and see that for a lot of people.
Okay.
I also believe that I don't know enough details about it, but like I think there could be some properties of like if you're using a cleanser, there could be some cleansing properties of like if you spray it on your countertop, it helps with this. Or like I've used tea tree oil after like popping a zit before or things like that. Because it's I think I've heard it's antibacterial. I think tea tree oil also helps with dandruff sometimes. And so there's like different, I think, topical purposes that are true. Some people use it in like things other skin things. And I think like topically on skin, there could definitely be some positive impacts there. I actually think a claim of taking it internally and seeing benefits for your overall health makes more sense than how much people talk about rubbing in your skin and seeing benefits.
3 times counterclockwise. Or was it clockwise?
Clockwise.
Clockwise. Don't do it counterclockwise. It won't work if you do it.
Right. Don't rub that
counterclockwise.
counterclockwise. No, it's going to
It's
electrocute you.
counterproductive.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted. Continue.
But like it's not going to enter in your bloodstream from being on your skin. So like what, you know what I mean? Like I think like if you're like swallowing something that's actually inside your body, and like if it's going to do anything, like it would have a better chance of doing something if it's inside of your body than on your skin. Because I think our skin has more of a barrier than to let those oils into our bodies, right? I hope so. I think that's the whole job of skin. And so I think like, I don't know, it at least makes a little more sense if you're going to say this helps me with immunity or fighting cancer or whatever, if you're ingesting it as opposed to applying it topic. But I don't believe it. And you're asking me what leads me to that. I mean, having a mom that's a nurse and being raised with some level of, I'm going to say really rude things. I'm already saying a lot of rude things, but just like thinking through, like, I know, I also, I do trust Western medicine, and I think that doctors would use it more and recommend it more. It makes me sad how I think the story of like, I tried Western medicine, it didn't work. So now I'm doing essential oils, and now I'm a certified doctor myself, and I'm going to prescribe myself. It's self-prescribing things. It's also just a little bit weird. And there feels like, well, it's not going to work at all. Or like, how do you know, like, how much to do? If this is effective, then you need to be careful with how much you're using of it. And consult a doctor. Is that going to be a theme of this unit? Is consult a doctor?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think the place for us to start, and this is hard for me to decide exactly where to start because there are so many things going on with essential oils, but I think we need to talk a little bit about what an oil is. Shall we start there?
Yes.
I'm going to read to you from, and we'll link all of these articles that we quote in our description so that people can look at them for themselves. This is from McGill University in Canada and their Office for Science and Society.
Okay. So you were looking at different types of websites than I was looking at.
I definitely was. Oils are defined as any net uncharged chemical substance that is a thick liquid at room temperature and is both hydrophobic and lipophobic. It's so clear for you now, is it not?
No, most of that made sense.
Oh, good.
Hydrophobic would be like you don't mix it with water. I mean, we all know oil and water.
Great.
It's the liquid at room temperature. That checks out.
Mm-hmm.
Although coconut oil, interesting one. And then it's not charged. It's not charged was the first part.
Yeah. You noticed that, did you?
Sure did. But
why would that be relevant today?
Well, but that's before you rub it 3 times clockwise.
Because rubbing something 3 times clockwise is definitely going to change the chemical properties of the substance. Yeah. It activates the electrical properties of the oil, the electrical properties that the oil doesn't have because it is uncharged.
Yeah. Okay. Seems like a good place to start.
Yeah, just going to throw that one out there. This article is really good, and it breaks down in a lot more science-y stuff that you don't necessarily need. But one of the things that they did find confirms your thought. The essential in their name refers to the fact that the oil contains the essence of a plant, its fragrance.
Well, you learned something today.
I did learn something because I've always wondered, and they actually even talked about the example that I didn't mention it when we were doing it, but that there's essential amino acids. We talk about the essential amino acids, and those are essential. They are amino acids, which those are the smaller molecules that make up proteins. Proteins are kind of important. And our bodies cannot make them ourselves. We have to eat other foods that have them and break them down and then use them.
Oh,
So they are literally essential
got
that
it.
we
Okay.
consume them. That's one of
Mhm.
the things that if you are vegetarian or vegan, you have to be very careful about the foods that you eat to make sure that you are getting enough of those, because a lot of those end up being in meats for people who eat meat. And you can get them in plants as well. It's not that they don't exist, but you just have to make sure that you have the right balance so that you can get enough of those essential amino acids. So I heard essential oils and have always assumed that it meant the same thing. This makes a little bit more sense. Okay. And some of the things that you mentioned are based in reality. Antimicrobial things, plants have all sorts of antimicrobial properties because they have to fight off infections. And unlike us, plants can't run away from things, or antifungal or any of those things. They have to have, it's basically chemical warfare that they fight with anything that's trying to attack them. And there are definitely antimicrobial and things. We get a lot of our medicines initially from plants. We derive them from plants. So that idea as a foundation is not a crazy one.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't quite sound convinced.
No, I think that's cool that like I could use I do use tea tree oil. I'm like, oh yeah, there's something there.
Well, yes.
Uh-oh.
You can. So you can, but just because something has antimicrobial properties doesn't mean it will kill all the bacteria around you and work like soap does. Those two things are not the same statement. Most of the time, and I have found there have been scientific studies that have been done on the antimicrobial properties of some of the elements that are in, not elements isn't like scientific, but like components of essential oils. And some of them definitely do demonstrate antimicrobial properties. The thing is, most of those tests are in a lab setting. They are on a petri dish with a growth medium where you've grown bacteria, and then you put a drop of the oil and you look, oh, look, there's this big, it's around here where now there aren't any bacteria. That's how you find that there's antibacterial properties. Great. But what does that actually translate to for us?
So really then you would need thousands of moms to spray it on their countertop and then to do some test on like what's
what you would
left
need
on the countertop.
is you would need to run some clinical trials in human, like with something with humans, to be able to find out does it meet the standards in order to be used as something like a soap or in place of something like that. And I kind of have the feeling that if that were the case, we would have already seen that happen. Now, not necessarily, I don't know that, but I think that's a reasonable hypothesis on my part.
Yeah.
But it doesn't, so again, there is it makes sense where some of the ideas come from. You also talked about a number of things like smelling good and making it make you feel better. And the psychological effects can also definitely be a real thing. Smell is a pretty strong sense in that it can bring back memories and do a whole bunch of things with just a little bit of a particular fragrance. So yes, there are things that can happen there, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of what we talked about last week, where if you believe that something will make you feel better, and then like, oh, I think that if I smell lavender, is it that I will feel more relaxed? And then you smell lavender and so you feel more relaxed. Not that you don't feel more relaxed. You very well might feel relaxed, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the lavender itself that has those properties as much as it's a psychological placebo effect, potentially. Now, I have seen some things with lavender in particular that seem to indicate that maybe there is some sort of effect. So it's not that there's nothing there. It's not total, crazy people who are making stuff up. But I will say, rub it clockwise 3 times. That activates the electrical properties in the oil and aligns your DNA. That's bunk.
Yeah.
No, aligning your DNA. And when I said that, yes, I'm aligning my DNA, that's true. Because in order for any cell to replicate and make another copy of itself, it goes through a process that you probably learned about in biology class called mitosis. And one of the steps in mitosis is metaphase, where all the DNA lines up along the middle of the cell so that it can pull apart. So yes, DNA does line up, but not when you rub your hand 3 times clockwise. There's no sort of like and it doesn't do anything. It's not magical. Oh my gosh, my DNA is aligned. Well, I feel better now. That's not how DNA works. As a matter of fact, if all your DNA is aligned, when it does that in the cells, you can't use the DNA in that case. You're not accessing any of the information in the DNA while you're doing that because it's all clumped up so it can be lined up. DNA needs to be actually spread out so that you can get to parts and read the information off of it. So anyway, I'm not going to belabor that point, but I can hear you saying already, Cheryl, I can hear you saying, but what about all the moms? And what about that husband that didn't believe, but now he does?
Yes. What about all these stories?
This is a really great example of something called anecdotal evidence. An anecdote is a story, just like you're saying. And just because someone's experienced something doesn't make it true or untrue, accurate or inaccurate. Someone's experience is their experience. However, if that experience is potentially influenced by financial incentive to tell a story in a particular way, because then it will convince people to click your affiliate link. That could be a factor. Even assuming all of the best intentions, the placebo effect, again, like we've talked about. And the reality is not all things work the same way. An example would be, I think a really good example is like smoking. We all know that smoking cigarettes increases your risk of lung cancer. Like I think that's pretty well known and pretty well accepted. But there have been people who have chain smoked for their entire life who've never gotten lung cancer. And so you could pull that one story and say, I know so-and-so, Betsy down the street who chain smoked her whole life and lived to, 96 years old and never had cancer at all. And that is true. That is not a false statement. But does that mean that cigarettes do not cause or increase the chances that you're going to have lung cancer? That one story? No, it's not a representative sample. There are always what we call outliers, things that are exception to the overall pattern. And you're never going to know that until you've gathered enough data and you've been able to analyze that data, not with what your experience is, but what the results are separate from what you experience. And that's hard to do. And sometimes we have a perception of things that it's one way and it really isn't. Not because we're trying to lie or we're trying to be deceptive or because we don't truly believe it. We can truly believe those things and have them not be true. And that's part of why science exists, is to give us a structure to help pull us away from those tendencies so that we can learn what's actually true. Because sometimes the thing that appears most obvious is not what's going on. This may be a rabbit trail, in which case you can ignore this, but I don't know if you ever learned about where we used to think flies came from. Did you ever learn that in a science class?
No.
Like
Well, maybe,
maggots
but
and
I slept through
flies?
science.
Good point.
Yeah.
Well, we used to think that it was called spontaneous generation. We used to think that flies came from rotting meat. It created the flies. Rotting meat created flies and like maggots and things.
And that's why they're on it.
Mm-hmm. That's why they were there, is because they were created from that, meat that's left out and goes bad. And it wasn't until someone came in, a scientist came in and ran a controlled experiment where he took different samples of meat and he left some out, just like we always had. He put one in a jar and then he put another one in a jar with a piece of like cheesecloth on the top. So air could get through, but nothing bigger than that could. And there were no maggots on the piece of meat that had the cheesecloth on it, but there were in the other two. And so there was something external to the piece of meat, i.e. flies coming down and just laying eggs, that actually contributed to that. But if you didn't run the experiment, if you didn't take time to control those pieces, you could see it right in front of your face. It's so obvious. You see that thing. And what you're seeing is true. You are seeing maggots appear on the meat.
Yeah.
But the cause is not what it appears to be. And so that could, again, there are some real properties with some components of essential oils. And for the most part, they are harmless. Now, I say for the most part, because I also found something that was a little disturbing, to be honest. There are a couple of essential oils.
I do know that a lot of them are harmful to cats.
Yes, some of them can be harmful to pets. And lavender oil, tea tree oil, when rubbed topically on prepubescent boys, can lead to breast development.
Wow.
Not like full breast, but like enlarged breasts when that's not supposed to happen.
Wow.
Because there are hormones in it. And you made a comment, you said applying something topically doesn't get it into your bloodstream. It can.
Oh, really?
Yes, it can. It depends on what the thing is and all of that stuff. But yes, the purpose of the skin is to block things out. But the skin is not able to block everything out. It does a really good job, but it's not perfect. And so, yes, there are times where certain things that you put on your skin can actually get into your bloodstream and over extended periods of time. So, yes. And so there have been some studies done on that. And there are, again, some. So those are two, both of those ones have come up in what we talked about, right? Lavender oil and tea tree oil. And for the most part, they're not harmful. It's not like don't touch them, but extended use in certain circumstances it's not like a long-term thing. If they stopped the use, it went back to normal. So it's not like it was this permanent damage or change sort of a thing, but it definitely is an effect that was not what was intended.
Yeah.
And by the way, in case you're wondering, where did I get that from? I got that from the National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences. So, and I'll link that information. But
I got mine from theconfidentmom.com.
Oh, well, then you're good to go.
She's confident.
She's confident.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yes.
I'm so glad.
Ooh.
So, I mean, all of that, just to kind of summarize, is for the most part, could there be some effects? Yeah, there could be. They're probably minimal. Most of the effects of essential oils are probably minimal and or psychological and related to the placebo effect. All the people who swear by them, and again, we talked about a lot of those things a little bit as you read a lot of them, they're not actually making even very clear claims. They're just saying, well, my husband was skeptical, but now he's not. Why not? Like, what happened? What's the difference? Well, I didn't know that it was going to work, but then it did. It worked how? What did it do?
Yeah.
Well, I feel better. That's great. You probably do feel better. And it may not be because of the essential oils themselves. But just like we said with the placebo effect, if you do feel better afterwards, and if it's not hurting you, that's great. Go ahead, use it. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I would say if it smells nice, like you said, you use it like in your cosmetics or things like that, just to smell nice and to have a great scent and things like that. Awesome. Go for it. Much beyond that is probably not going to have a major effect one way or the other. And now it's time for your quiz, Cheryl.
Instead of a traditional Western education quiz, I would like to opt for my own version of it, which does include something about electrons. It wasn't electrons, but electrical properties of my DNA. So I already know all about it. We're good.
Okay, that made no sense whatsoever. So we're just going to move forward. First question. Which claims of essential oils might be true?
Psychological.
Tell me more.
Stress relief, calming, and I mean, some of them talked about depression too, which feels like it depends on your definition of depression.
Whether
If you
it's
feel
clinical depression or
depressed
not.
on
Yeah.
a day, then I think it might help that. I don't think it would help clinical depression. But yeah, so like making you feel better or more relaxed or calm. Probably the same for sleep then too. I don't really know how it would help you stay asleep, but maybe falling asleep and feeling cozy and sleepy and everything feels legit. Topical with like skincare, things like that, I could see helping. Or certain, I don't know, it seems like certain specific things of like taking something internally as prescribed by a doctor to help with a specific issue, which I had a doctor do one time.
Okay. I was going to say, do they actually do that for essential oils?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
She had me take peppermint oil, 1 drop every morning under my tongue. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay. The other one that I would add is some of them do have antimicrobial properties.
Yes.
That statement is true.
Okay. The statement is true.
Yes.
Okay.
But the claim, what's the problem with the claim? And that gets into the second question. What are some of the claims that don't seem to be true or don't have any evidence to support them?
Using one instance to say that this is the truth of this substance and this is how it works because it worked for me, would be a claim. And I mean, I think the immune support is really hard to measure just on yourself, because you don't know. We don't know when we come into contact with different strains of colds or flus necessarily, or how bad they are, or how bad they would have been if we had done something differently, like getting a full night of sleep, or drinking water, or taking zinc, or taking essential oils. Like it's hard to like measure that against yourself because you will never be in that same situation with that same strain, exposed the same amount of time, and like all of those things being the same. And so I think that's a really tough one to say that it's helping with your immune support. And you know that because you're not sick or because you didn't get that bad of a cold or something like that.
Because you don't know how bad it would have been otherwise.
Yes. And then just the laundry list of claims of all of them, I think, we talked about this last week too. When it's that long of a list, it gets a little questionable.
Yep. What are some challenges with using anecdotal evidence?
What do you mean by challenges?
Well,
Limitations?
sure, limitations. That, yep, if you
Okay.
like that word better, yeah.
Okay. There's not a large enough group to say that it's true any percentage of the time,
Mm.
or there's not a control.
Mm-hmm.
And so there aren't key elements that need to be in place in a scientific study.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes. All right. Last quiz question, and this is the most important question, Cheryl.
Oh no. Oh no.
How do you align your DNA?
Daily is how I align it.
No, that would be when. How?
Very well.
Well, you're not passing the last question. Come
Oh
on,
my gosh,
Cheryl.
my body does it on its own. It's
You rub
really
clockwise
amazing.
3 times and activate the electrical properties in the oil.
Oh my gosh. Do you think you could keep a straight face if somebody told you that in sincerity?
I'm so bad at hiding my emotions that I probably couldn't. Although there have been times where I have had to hold my tongue in certain situations where like it's not worth
Yeah.
it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. But I'm not great
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah.
Well, we're essentially done with our lesson
boy.
this week. Why don't you go ahead and pack up your stuff and get ready for my closing remarks?
You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at I Slept Through Science or on Twitter at Slept Science.
If you have dumb science questions like I do, please send them to us. You can email us at isleptthroughscience@gmail.com, or you can even send us a voice memo and we'll play it on the podcast.
Please rate and review our podcast to tell other people what you think about it, subscribe to make sure you don't miss an episode, and share about our podcast on social media.
Thank you to Beth Reed Miller for the artwork. You can check out more of Beth's artwork at Beth Is Something. Okay, great. Thanks. Bye.
The bell doesn't dismiss you, I dismiss you.